Somebody needs a shot of something. Mortgage rates just hit their highest level in almost a year. Buyers are stepping back, and somehow the hottest real estate markets in America right now are small college towns in West Virginia and Alabama. Welcome to Lien Report, the show where I explain real estate news despite possessing none of the qualifications traditionally associated with explaining real estate news. I'm Taylor. Let's get into it. Mortgage rates hit 6.55% this week, according to Freddie Mac. That is the highest they have been in almost a year. And it is now the 9th consecutive week where rates have been stuck somewhere in this range. 9 weeks. That is long enough to binge an entire prestige drama, develop a new hobby, sort of, briefly consider sourdough, and come back and find rates doing the exact same thing. Here is why they will not move. The Iran ceasefire officially ended July 8th. Oil prices jumped. When oil prices jump, inflation fears jump. And then when inflation fears jump, mortgage rates follow. We have now explained this chain 5 times on the show, and I try to do it just as thrilling and exciting and depressing as the other times I did it. If you have been watching since episode 1, you could explain it to your parents at Thanksgiving. You're welcome. Now, here's the thing nobody is saying loudly enough. Rates at 6.55% feel painful because we spent a couple of years in an almost impossibly cheap 3% world that was never going to last. Y'all, it wasn't. It's time to let it go. The long run historical average for a 30-year mortgage is right around where we are now. That's not a broken market. This is a normal market that followed an abnormal one. Crazy abnormal. Freddie Mac's own chief economist said this week that even with purchase demand softening, housing affordability is more favorable than last year and inventory continues to rise. The backdrop for buyers is, and I'm quoting here, modestly improving. Modestly improving, y'all. I added the y'all. Not fireworks, not a parade, but the direction is right. And in real estate, direction is everything. Pending sales dipped 2.2%. Here's what that actually means. Pending home sales fell 2.2% in the 4 weeks ending July 12th, according to Redfin. New listings also pulled back to their lowest level since the start of the year. Pending sales, just to keep everybody current, are homes under contract but not yet closed. The engagement phase of real estate, right? Like things are fun, exciting. And right now, some buyers who were almost ready to get engaged decided they needed a few more weeks to think about it. It's not you, mortgage rates. It's me, the buyers. I'll work that some other time. The reason is not mysterious. Rates ticked back up. The Iran situation got shakier, and buyers who were already at the edge of what their budget could handle looked at their monthly payment, did the math, and said, maybe one more week. But here's what Redfin themselves said in the same report. The decline may reflect normal week-to-week volatility rather than a major shift in demand. 1 week a dip in pending sales is not a trend. It's the wobble. It's a little boop boop. And the buyers who stepped back when rates nudged up are the same buyers who stepped back in when rates nudged down. The demand is real. The desire to own a home has not gone anywhere. The hesitation is about timing, not conviction. A Redfin agent in Grand Rapids said buyers right now remind her of tire kickers at a car dealership. They are serious. They want to buy. They just want one more sign that the timing is right before they commit. That buyer exists in every market. And guess what, y'all? That buyer eventually buys. Can I say like the buyer eventually gets married, says yes to the dress, says yes to the address. Anyway, moving on. Affordable college towns are growing at 5 times the national rate. What? Redfin published a report this week that I did not see coming, and I say that as someone who covers real estate news for a living. Loosely. I don't do it for a living. It's fun. While the national housing market has been posting about 2% home price growth, a handful of small inland college towns are growing at more than 5 times that rate. Morgantown, West Virginia, Syracuse, New York, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, double-digit year-over-year price growth in cities that do not normally appear in the same sentence as the words hot market. Here's why. These towns are affordable. They are anchored by universities that create steady, reliable demand from students, faculty, staff, and people who just want to live somewhere with a reasonable mortgage and a football team. Maybe a cool live music situation. And buyers who have been priced out of bigger metros are discovering them. The median home price in Dayton, Ohio is under $185,000. The national median is $440,000. That is not a rounding error. That is a completely different conversation about what homeownership could look like for someone who is flexible about where they live. State College, Pennsylvania, home of Penn State, is seeing homes go under contract in 5 days. 5! The national average is 49 days. That market is not moving fast. That market is moving before you finish your coffee. Now, the Redfin economists put it well. Buyers priced out of larger metros are finding that a university town gives you walkability, community, a local economy that does not depend on one employer, and a home you can actually afford. That trade is starting to look really good to a lot of people. Okay, so true talk. Nobody's moving to Morgantown for the nightlife, right? But they might be moving there for the mortgage. And honestly, that is a completely valid life decision. Plus, once you have kids, do you even have a nightlife? For the first time since the pandemic, incomes are growing faster than home prices. What? This one does not have a flashy headline, and that is exactly why I want to talk about it. For the first time since the pandemic, incomes are growing faster than home prices in most markets across the country. Wages are up. Home price growth has slowed to about 1.2% nationally, according to Realtor.com's mid-year update. And that combination is the actual engine behind improving affordability. This is what a slow, grinding, unsexy market recovery actually looks like. This is my version of someone who's unsexy. Prices do not crash. Rates do not collapse. Instead, wages creep up. Price growth slows down, and then one day you realize the math that felt impossible 2 years ago is starting to make sense again. Lawrence Y, I'm not going to pronounce his last name incorrectly. I don't want to do that out of respect for Larry. Does he go by Larry? At NAR, this guy at NAR, okay? He said it plainly. Affordability is better than a year ago because wage growth is outpacing home price growth. He also warned that this progress stalls if inventory stops growing. So the thing to watch is whether more homes keep coming to market. Realtor.com's mid-year forecast described the market this way. Buyers and sellers have shown a lot of staying power this year. This is a market where people are adjusting and showing up rather than giving up. Sellers are meeting the market with more realistic asking prices, which is helping deals get done. Look, not every headline has to be dramatic to matter. But sometimes it does! Just kidding, not this one. This one just quietly makes the case that the math is moving in the right direction. And in a market that has felt impossible for a while, the math moving in the right direction is actually really good news. The youngest buyers are showing up in record numbers. Last one, and this one is my favorite of the week. Okay. According to Housing Wire, Gen Z accounted for 20% of all home purchase rate locks in the second quarter of 2026. That is the largest share on record. The youngest generation of buyers is showing up in record numbers in a market that was not exactly designed to welcome them. A rate lock, just so we're all on the same page, is when a buyer applies for a mortgage and locks in that interest rate before closing. Lock it in. It is one of the clearest signals that someone is not just browsing, they are buying. Boom. And 20% of all those people are Gen Z. 20%! In a market with 6.55% rates, with median home prices at $440,000, and an economy that Pew Research just told us 89% of people under 40 describe as harder than their parents had it. They are doing it anyway. The cities where Gen Z is showing up the most? Midwest and affordable southern metros, Columbus, Indianapolis, Charlotte, Raleigh, the same cities that have been quietly delivering for first-time buyers all year, while the expensive coasts got all the headlines. The story of the 2026 housing market is not that it is broken. It is that a generation that was told homeownership was out of reach looked at the data, found the markets where the math worked, and started filling out that paperwork. That is not a broken generation. That is a resourceful one. If you are watching this and wondering whether you could be one of them, the answer is yes. Yes, we can play with the whole idea of a younger generation if you're above the younger generation. It just requires a plan, a realistic market, and possibly a willingness to Google what Morgantown, West Virginia is actually like. What a week! right? Rates are stuck at 6.55%, and somehow affordability is still improving. Buyers blinked, but the demand is real. Morgantown is a hot market. Morgantown, let me just start the whole thing over. Okay, here we go. What a week! Oh, what a week. Somebody's got a case of the Mondays. Somebody needs a shot of something. Rates are stuck at 6.55%, and somehow affordability is still improving. Morgantown is a hot market right now, which is a sentence I will never get tired of saying, even though I didn't know Morgantown, West Virginia existed until this episode. But hey, yay Morgantown! Wages are finally outpacing home prices, and Gen Z is buying homes in record numbers because they found the markets where the math works. The housing market is not fixed. It is never fully fixed, but it is full of people figuring it out, and it is worth paying attention to. I'm Taylor. This has been Lien Report, real estate news for everyone. See you next week. Thanks for watching Lien Report. Listen, like, comment, subscribe. Hit a bell somewhere that tells you when we have a new episode coming up. And I'm just getting started. Please come and watch and support me as I buy more puffy sleeve shirts. Look at that.